India is now one step closer to leading foreign vaccines coming into the country. The apex drug regulator has waived the requirement for foreign vaccine makers to conduct a post-launch bridging trial. The relaxation will kick in if the vaccines have a similar nod from specific countries or at least a prominent global health body. However, the requirement to conduct a safety study on first 100 recipients for 7 days is still in place. US-made Moderna and Pfizer mRNA vaccines look set to be rolled out in India. Sources are telling India Today that the Modi government is likely to grant an indemnity to the two vaccines along the lines of what has been granted already in other countries. But what is a vaccine indemnity clause? It refers to a legal protection to a manufacturer or even a distributor from any claim that may rise due to adverse effect after you get a jab. Both Moderna and Pfizer have the indemnity in all countries, including the USA, where they have rolled out these vaccines. The government of India is defending the vaccination drive. That's the breaking news that we are bringing you. The centre has now been supporting effort of states for a successful vaccination drive, is what they've said. The government has added, there is no truth to any report that only 58 million doses out of total 79 million doses were administered in the month of May. The government has also reiterated that they are constantly in touch with vaccine manufacturers as well. So 30 crore Indians, the priority group, were to be vaccinated by July, for which 60 crore doses had to be administered. But the government has now administered only about 1/4 of that so far. So even if we were to already leave aside the second wave of the pandemic, data shows that the original plan also was to vaccinate the priority population. But there is something, at least in terms of statistics, that's not standing on its own. Sneha Murdani has more details. Take a look.
The National Vaccine Committee, headed by Dr. V.K. Paul, had set a target. 30 crore Indians were to get the jab by July 2021. The target was set in the month of November last year, when India was recovering from the peak of the first wave and had zero inkling of the second. But the government's own data shows that even if India had not had the second wave and would be progressing to vaccinate the priority group, it would have still fallen way short of target. The target population was over 27 crore Indians above the age of 50 with comorbidities, 2 crore frontline workers, 1 crore healthcare workers. Take a look at how many doses have been given. 19.5 crore doses as opposed to 60 crore doses for 30 crore Indians by July if you look at both the vaccines having 2 doses. Those above the age of 45 have got 15.48 crore doses. 1.67 crore doses have been given to healthcare workers. Frontline workers have got 2.42 crore doses. The general adult population, who were not a part of this plan initially, have got 2.03 crore doses.
It took us 5.5 months to vaccinate 195 million doses to these people in the priority group, and we have another 1.5 months remaining. So that means an average of 8 to 9 million doses administered to this particular group for the remaining days of this month, and that is simply not going to happen. That is because our production capacity for SII and BB combined is only 28 lakh per day at the moment. And their indicative production capacity, as they have told to the government, is only 28 lakhs every day for the rest of this month. If I told they're going to increase that only by July, and again in July it's not going to be increased too much. So there is no way this target is going to be reached by even mid-July or even by end of July, given the existing production capacity of these vaccines we have right now.
Over 21 crore doses have been given, but this amounts to only 11% of the country's population, only 3% of which has been fully vaccinated.
दिसंबर तक 216 करोड़ डोसेस यानी 108 करोड़ लोगों का वैक्सीनेशन कैसे होगा, इसका पूरा खाका दिया है।
The target to get the entire population covered by December, as promised, looks like mission impossible.
So till now, India has done 22 crore vaccinations. Now in months of June and July, there is likely availability of another 25 crores. That will take it to 47 crore vaccine shots, which is far shorter than the number of shots expected to cover 30 crore population, which was 60 crore. So India is unlikely to achieve that target.
Despite assurances from the government, vaccine scarcity won't improve in June, nor will it in July. The 3 PSUs to manufacture Covaxin, in addition to Bharat Biotech, will start work only post-August. Each company that manufactures Sputnik V, about 6 of them are doing in India, will have to spend at least 2 months in phase 3 clinical trials. Hetero, for example, has just got a batch clearance from CDL Kasoli, but will start the clinical trials of the Made in India Sputnik V. And then there is great amount of vaccine hesitancy in rural India, now ravaged by the second wave and no longer unaffected like it was in the first.
In the next 7 months, each month we have to do as many doses as we have done in the last 5 months. Over 200 million doses per month, around 7 million doses per day. Very challenging. Several issues with this. Where are the vaccines? There's inadequate manufacturing. We've been blocking the import of vaccines, so we don't have enough. The distribution, administering the vaccines has been incredibly slow. There's a lot of inequity in vaccine distribution. There have been technology barriers in COVID. There's a rural-urban divide in access. And of course, there's a difference in access for the privileged versus the underprivileged.
There is a great deal of fixing that India needs to do in terms of addressing poor coverage, mismatch between targets and availability, as well as geographical disparities in coverage. To vaccinate everyone above 18 twice by the year 2022, by January, India would need at least 69 lakh doses per day. While at an average rate of 25 lakh doses per day, India would cover less than 30% of the 18-plus population by January 2022. Further, at the current rate, it would be 2023 till India can vaccinate everyone above the age of 18. In New Delhi, Sneha Moldani for India Today.
So what is the vaccination status here in the country? Let's bring you a vaccination tracker. And Uttar Pradesh is topping the charts because first dose had about 3,21,983 vaccines. Dose 2 already at 25,021. So the highest vaccination drive is being done by reports in Uttar Pradesh, and the lowest is in the northeastern state of Manipur with 4,285 in first doses, dose 2 about only 75. So let's hope that it ramps up very soon. But this is the data. What about the ground reports? Our colleagues have been traveling in different states across the country since the past 1 year. I'm now taking you to Rajasthan because while countries battling the pandemic, it is misinformation, it is myths that is stopping a lot of people from getting basic vaccines as well, especially in villages. And the poorest are the worst hit clearly, and the efforts are being stifled because while the healthcare workers are prepared and ready, Mosmi Singh now brings you this ground report from Jodhpur's Shergaon village.
Myths, illiteracy and poverty are big hurdles in rural Rajasthan's fight against the virus. And Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot's home turf Jodhpur is a prime example.
Crisscrossing Rajasthan, now we've reached Jodhpur in West Rajasthan, the second biggest city after Jaipur. Jodhpur is also reeling under the pandemic, especially in far-flung areas like Shergaon. That is about more than 100 kilometers away from Jodhpur. There is a fear that has gripped the villagers. We're going to find out why this fear and why the awareness is lacking.
Amolak Ram is mourning the death of his wife, Munni Devi. She was the local bhupa, a priestess who prayed to folk deities and offered cure for ailments. As the pandemic spread, she was advising people on how to beat COVID.
एकदम खून की कमी के कारण खत्म हो गई। जैसे अस्पताल गए और अस्पताल में जोधपुर रेफर किया गया और रेफर करते हुए भी रास्ते में उसकी जीव दे दिया।
And when she fell sick and died, villagers were shocked.
वो खुद देवी देवताओं के नाम पे लोगों को मतलब झाड़ फूंक किया करती थी और उसी चक्कर में उसने मतलब टेस्ट वगैरह नहीं करवाए, मैं तो मेरे देवी देवता ठीक कर देंगे और लास्ट में ज़्यादा दब गई, यहाँ लेके आए, ऑक्सीजन बिल्कुल डाउन हो गया, ठीक है। उसके बाद में जोधपुर रेफर किया, रास्ते में डेथ हो गई। अब परिवार वाले झूठ बोल रहे हैं।
The Shergarh block of the district had seen more than 80 deaths, but the vaccination drive is facing resistance. People like Chalaram, a shoemaker, are vehemently opposed to taking the jab.
लोग परेशान है, टीका लगाते हैं, वो आदमी एक भी रिया नहीं, सब मर गए, ठीक है ना। इसलिए हमारे 30-35 यहाँ पे घर है, किसी ने भी टीका लगाया नहीं और नहीं चेक कराया और 100-150 रुपए कमाते हैं और जब गुजारा चलता है।
मैं लगाऊं कोई टीका, बहुत डर लगता है टीके का, डर लगता है। क्यों डरती हो? टीका उठी सुनते हैं भाई का खत्म हो गया, उठे टीका लाता चढ़े, बुखार आता है, सब भी होता है।
Rumors that people are dying after taking the vaccine are fueling vaccine hesitancy.
टीका लगाए वही मर गया, टीका कहीं लगावे थे, इसलिए टीका नहीं लगाना। या सुनो बस्ती में ज्यादा डर लगे, ज्यादा सपक न हॉस्पिटल जाओ नहीं, ताव बुखार आओ तो घरी गोली लेने बैठ जाओ, के भीड़ लगे कोई एड़ा आदमी आवे तो अपन ही बीमारी दे दे, तो हम घर से बाहर नहीं निकलते।
मैं तो मजदूर आदमी हूँ, काम पे चला जाता हूँ, कोई आए या नहीं आए मेरे को मालूम नहीं है।
आपको टीका लगवाएंगे तो आप लगवाओगे टीका?
लगवा देंगे और क्या होगा, मरेंगे तो मरेंगे, टीका से मरते वैसे भी मरेंगे।
Health survey teams have visited Shergarh. Efforts are being made to convince people that the vaccine does not kill. But people living on the margin don't even seem to trust the word of outsiders.
In the hinterland, knowledge is the privilege of the rich. Rumors gather momentum and become the truth. Had the government been more alert in spreading awareness, ignorance would have not risen to speculations and fear, putting the most backward communities in a very precarious position. With video journalist Satya Rotre and Ashok, this is Mosmi Singh in Jodhpur for India Today.
As the state of West Bengal battles a resurgent virus, it also faces an uphill task of vaccinating its citizens due to the shortage of jabs. But that's not all. Vaccine hesitancy in slum areas of Kolkata is aggravating the crisis. Here's a report by my colleague Ankit Tyagi, who is in Bengal.
Kolkata is facing a big challenge. The post-election jump in COVID infections is a big cause of worry, and controlling the spread has been a major challenge. Especially when more than 15 lakh people in Kolkata live in slums. For many, social distancing in their compact homes is impossible.
घर जिनका छोटा घर है या फिर बड़ा घर है, घर में ज्यादा लोग हैं, तो कैसे, अगर किसी को अलग अलग भी रहना होगा तो कैसे रहेंगे? छोटे से घर में सबको तो ऐसे ही मैनेज करके रहना पड़ेगा ना। बीमारी तो अभी आई है, लोग तो पहले से ही इसी तरह से रह रहे हैं। अब इसके लिए अगर कोई व्यवस्था होगा तब ना लोग अलग अलग दूरी बना के रह सकते हैं। अब छोटे घर में लोग अगर ज्यादा लोग हैं तो किसको बोलेंगे घर के आप बाहर चले जाइए, आप उधर चले जाइए? सबको तो एक साथ में ही रहना है।
These people living in the slums have largely been left out of the government's efforts to use vaccinations as a mode to contain the pandemic.
केसेस आ रहे हैं आप लोगों की बस्ती में?
हाँ सर, कुछ केसेस आए हैं सर अभी हम लोगों। ये आपको ये कुरी नंबर में 42 का 2 में एक हुआ था सर, जो डेड कर गया कोरोना से ही।
टेस्टिंग वगैरह हुआ है यहाँ पे?
ना टेस्टिंग हुआ नहीं सर, वो लोग सर ऑलरेडी कहीं दिखा देते प्राइवेट में, तो उन लोगों को बताया गया कि आप लोग कोरोना, आप लोग क्वारंटाइन ही रहिए घर में।
Despite being registered on the CoWIN portal, it's an endless wait to get the jab.
Already registered करके रखा हुआ है।
तो अभी आपने इसमें कोई स्लॉट आपको नहीं मिला है?
जी, कोई
आपने कोशिश करा स्लॉट लेने का?
सब कुछ कोशिश करके देख लिया है, लेकिन कोई भी रिस्पॉन्स, कोई रिप्लाई नहीं है.
Then there are those who are unwilling to take a vaccination, and their reasons for it border on the bizarre.
क्या आप लोगों ने वैक्सीन लगवाया है?
नहीं सर,
नहीं लगा?
नहीं.
क्यों नहीं लगा?
हम लोग को मालूम नहीं था, इसलिए.
पता ही नहीं चला. लॉकडाउन चला, अभी कहाँ जाएंगे हम लोग, ये दोनों को पता ही नहीं है ना.
कह रहे हैं कि मोबाइल पे आपको करना आता है, अपने आप को रजिस्टर मोबाइल पे?
नहीं.
आपको बोला ना सर, यहाँ पर ऐसा कोई कोरोना नाम का चीज नहीं. लाइन लगाने के बाद,
दिन भर लाइन लगाने के बाद भी नंबर नहीं आ रहा है. हम नहीं गए थे, परिवार गया था मेरा.
कॉर्पोरेशन वहाँ हाई रोड में है वो.
हम लोग चलो फाका होगा, लॉकडाउन खत्म होगा, फाका होगा तो जाएगा.
कोरोना से डर नहीं लगता है. क्यों? क्योंकि हमारा जो सरकार है टीएमसी का, ममता बनर्जी, बॉबी हकीम, आलम भाई, असगर भाई, जो भी है यहाँ का, हम लोग को बहुत सारा सपोर्ट कोऑपरेट करता है. और हम लोग का शौकत भाई बहुत सपोर्ट करते हैं यहाँ पे. जिससे कि कोई भी जैसे हॉस्पिटल के प्रॉब्लम होने से 1-2 आदमी की यहाँ हुआ था, तो हम लोग बोलने से क्या है कि हम लोग को कोऑपरेट मिलता है.
The shortage of doses in the state has been an obstacle to the vaccine drive. Those who've managed one consider themselves lucky.
मैंने 1 डोज लगवाया सर.
आसानी से हो गया?
आसानी से हो गया.
अभी आप इंतजार कर रहे हैं अपने?
हाँ, डबल डोज के लिए मैं इंतजार कर रहा हूँ सर.
आपने लिखवाया भाई साहब?
हाँ, हम वैक्सीन लगाए.
लगवाया आपने?
हाँ, 1 डोज लगवाया. अगले महीने 1 डोज है.
अगले महीने डोज है. आसानी से लग गया आपको?
हाँ, आसानी से लगाया. तो कारपोरेशन में जाकर लगाया.
Life in the slums is always tough, and the pandemic has only made it much harder for the people, those who have been living right at the margins of the society. Open drains, absolutely filthy conditions. The problem for them has only compounded with the lockdown and, of course, the COVID pandemic. With very little information as far as the coronavirus is concerned, most here are swinging between vaccine hesitancy and shortage of vaccine and facilities to protect themselves. This is now going to be the next big challenge as far as the coronavirus policy of the government is concerned. With camera person Dinesh Tal, Ankit Tyagi in Kolkata, India Today.
Pakistan has launched its homemade COVID-19 vaccine and has named it Pak-Vac, which it developed with the help of its ally China in order to vaccinate its people in the country. However, there is no information on its efficacy or even its safety data. Speaking on the launch of the vaccine, Special Assistant to Prime Minister Imran Khan on Health, Dr. Faisal Sultan said that during the pandemic, China stood out as a friend of Pakistan. In fact, he further added that the developing of a vaccine from raw material is not an easy task and that he is proud of the scientists in Pakistan. Reports have now added that so far more than 73 lakh doses have been administered to over 53 lakh people in the country. Well, that's a wrap on this bulletin for now. For further news and updates, you can always log on to indiatoday.in. You can also download the app on your phones. Don't go anywhere. Special segment coming from South at 2 p.m.